Welcome in, everybody. We are into week 10. Uh, had some pretty interesting matchups this week. Um, let's get straight into them here. First off, we have the Rally Birds falling to the Ninja Chickens. Both teams in this one dealt with injuries. Believe we both ended up with 2 or 3 players hurt aside. I know I lost Soto pretty early in the week. He lost Tucker. Um, and yeah, it was a great matchup. It just, my guys ended up injured more towards the end of the week. Didn't really give me the opportunity to score. Murph's guys had a huge week and got a big win. The Raviolis and the Mud Biscuits. This one is still pretty tight. Right now, the Mud Biscuits are up 58.5 to the Raviolis 53.5. I'm assuming that the Mud Biscuits are likely to pull this one out. Not exactly sure, but this would be a big win to get back on track for the Mud Biscuits. Randy's Balls. I believe this one is still up in the air here. This was a great matchup. Knew this one was probably going to come down to the end. But ultimately, I think that the taxpayers probably get this one done unless there's a homer tonight for Randy's Balls and the taxpayers go silent. We'll see how that one shakes out as well. And then we have the Holmes Hitters taking a hit to the number 12 team in the league, Andrew's bum shoulder. The Hitters did not show up this week. They had been on a pretty good stretch as of late. Unfortunately, I think that stretch has come to an end, and they are back in a little bit of a predicament. The Sluggers didn't have a high-scoring week by any means, but are going to get it done against the Broken Bat Bombers. Sam needed a bounce back. He got it this week, 55-47. And then finally, the highest scoring team of the week over a really solid Hormones with Clubs. This is the win that Ryan's been looking for. And Ryan absolutely earned it. 87 points for Ryan this week over the Hormones with Clubs, who scored a total of 56 points. So big win for Ryan. So that might be enough to get him in the top 4. We'll see. All right, let's go into the awards. MVP of the week goes to none other than the highest scoring team in the league. Whoops, don't want that. Highest scoring team in the league, and that is Fernando Tatis Jr. Huge week this week. Couple homers, 3 doubles, and then just a ton of singles. 13 for 29 is a big week. That's a lot of at-bats to begin with, and he did a lot with them. So Ryan was really powered by 2 guys this week. Really 3 had really solid weeks. Witt had a nice week. Tatis had a nice week, and Westberg had a nice week. But Tatis really rounds that out, gives him a huge high-scoring week. So Tatis this week gets the MVP. Injury of the week. This one, I think, has to go to the 2 teams that had guys, I think, injured every single night. Somebody seemed like they went down. And that's going to go to Kyle Tucker, ultimately, because he ended up on the IL. He had 1 at bat, and he went 1 for 1. I'm not sure exactly how long he is out. I was trying to read. He's going to be out, it looks like, for at least a week with a right shin contusion. I would assume that means he's probably out next week as well for the Ninja Chickens, but it doesn't look like it's a long-term injury, which is good for Murph. But Kyle Tucker this week was a huge loss. There's a couple guys on this team that are on both teams that went down. I had Soto go down. He only had 6 at bats this week. He went down, I think, on night 2, and it was out the rest of the week. And I believe Michael Harris got hurt as well, but he came back, and Marte got hurt. I think he was in a crazy game. He got a ton of at bats. Just tough, weird week for my team. It was like a couple of guys got pulled mid-game. Kind of sucked. But ultimately, the big injury is the Kyle Tucker injury. And then we have this week's dud of the week. This team kind of had a dud this week. The Raviolis. Yeah, a 1 for 20 burger on Willy Adames for the Milwaukee Brewers. One singular point out of somebody who has been really solid. I know they faced the Phillies this week, who I believe had pretty much their whole starting staff go at it. Their most solid pitchers go at them. I know I watched a little bit of MLB Network this week, and they're talking about how the Brewers were just struggling in general. So Adames this week is going to get the one singular point for the Raviolis and earn dud of the week. Manager of the week. There was a couple here that I really considered. Ultimately, though, it came down to there's 2 managers that got big wins. But one, I got to give it to him because I gave him some flack a couple weeks ago. But he showed out this week. And ultimately, he beat me. And that is Murph and the Ninja Chickens. I believe this is his 2nd or 3rd manager of the week. He has been on a pretty hot run as of late. He is moving to 7-3 and is now tied with the Rally Birds at the top of the league. Yeah, this team, and I got to give Murph some here. This team probably started the year didn't look to be the scariest team. Really, I think Duran, Cronenworth, Tovar are all guys I would expect to probably see on the bench of most teams. Then ultimately, Verdugo, I would probably have started. Adolis Garcia is somebody I would consider starting. There's a lot of really solid players on this team. They are deep. Right now, I think that Murph is probably the team to beat in the league. Just judging by, his depth, I think that, these 2 teams here are probably the 2 deepest teams in the league, with Caleb Watts probably following that up 3rd. His team, though, just has not been performing. But ultimately, I got to give credit where credit is due, and Murph is going to take home the manager of the week this week. So congrats, Murph. All right, let's go into the rankings. At number 12 this week, down from number 11, it is the Broken Bat Bombers. This team, just barely any double-digit scores this week. Tough week for them. A lot of guys contributed, but no huge weeks from anybody. It's tough to win whenever you have situations like that. I've probably harped on this team enough. I just don't think that they have the guys, the studs that are needed in order to be competitive in this league. And, they are 4-5, but I just see this team trending in the wrong direction. Maybe some moves need to be made. There are some intriguing pieces. Maybe Corbin Carroll gets going. Pete Alonso maybe gets traded and gets hot somewhere else. This team just needs 2 or 3 pieces ultimately to be competitive, and I think that they need to make some moves here before we get into the trade deadline. If they want to be competitive, I don't know if they are. They're only 4-6. They're only 4-6, so they are very much still in the hunt. They just have a team that I believe they're one of the bottom teams in scoring, yet they're 4-6. So, you know, maybe they try to make some moves, try to make a playoff push. It wouldn't surprise me knowing Parker, but ultimately, I think that this team is deserving of their rank. So the Broken Bat Bombers are coming in at number 12. Coming in at number 11, falling one spot from week 9, it is Randy's Balls. I thought this team may be back on a maybe a little comeback, but they might. I mean, this is still early in the Yankees game. This could flip, but there's too many. I don't see this team getting a win this week. Ultimately, one of these teams is going to be 4-6. The other one is going to be 3-7. Tough spot now for Randy's Balls. They have to get hot going in the second half of the year, and really just no production from the bottom of this lineup. I mean, you got to have production from Austin Riley. You got to have production from Salvi Perez. Cody Bellinger also struggling a little bit this year with the Cubs. Yeah, these top two guys are really solid, but they're lacking right now. They have the names that look really good. They have the names on the roster, but those names still have to perform in order to be, on the comeback trail. And lately, the Balls have fallen short of kind of their expectations this year. Coming in at number 10, up from 2 spots last week. I gave this team a little bit of flack last week. Have kind of continued to be on the downward spiral with this team, but they did get a nice win this week. And Andrew's bum shoulder is bouncing back up to number 10. They are also moving to 4-6. Not a terrible spot to be in. They have the names. They have the big players. In order to win, just they have to get production out of that bottom half. Julio, Albies, Henderson all had really solid weeks this week. Can't complain when you get double-digit scoring. Yanier Diaz for Houston had a huge week. Watched a little bit of that, I believe, against the Cardinals this week. And then who the hell is this? Riley Green. Yeah, Riley Green. Had 10 for him. So, this team is very capable of putting up points. I'm really surprised to see Yanier Diaz put up a 20-piece. That is very high scoring for him. But ultimately, they got a nice win this week. I got to give them some love in the rankings when they get a nice win and almost drop 70 points on the Hittas. Speaking of the Hittas, they're staying the same this week. A tough week, 42 points. But they did lose Seager pretty early in the week. Tough loss for him because now he's at 3-7. Has to make some type of move here to get back on track. Ultimately, though, I think that this team's probably dead in the water at this point. I hope he uses that as fuel to prove me wrong. But this team to me is dead in the water. 3-7 is tough to come back from. I mean, we're halfway through the season at this point. 3-7. That means you got to go basically flip the script if you want to be 500 going forward. I don't think that this team is capable of doing that. Maybe if a couple of these guys get hot. I just don't see it happening, though. Olsen just hasn't been consistent all year. Seager has been solid, but Yandy Diaz hasn't been the same. Bichette on that Blue Jays team is just not performing with some big names on it. JD Martinez, average at best. Pasquantino has been a pleasant surprise for the Hitters, but maybe that's a piece he looks to move and see if he can maybe pull in another solid player. Go for it, but I know Michael's not going to lay down and die, but I think that this team might need to consider it because they, to me, are dead in the water right now. Though I think that their team still can compete, so that's why I'm ranking them at 9. At number 8 this week, staying the same, it is Sam Sluggers. Sam Sluggers. Didn't have a huge week by any means, but got 11 and 14 out of Bregman and Ellie De La Cruz. This team still has they literally are playing their complete healthy lineup that they can. Have not made any roster moves to get healthier. Probably should drop this team lower than 8, but they did just pick up a win and are at 500 right now. I believe that they would be a playoff team, but man, I don't know what to say about this team. They have picked up a nice win here going into the halfway point. They're at 500, but seeing this team more than a 500 team, I just don't see it. I think best case scenario, this team is a 500 team as we go into the second half of the season. I think this team's probably going to fall off at some point harder than they have. So I'm keeping Sam at 8. I think that this team's probably screwed, to put it lightly. All right, falling from number 6 down to number 7. The Travioli Raviolis are coming in at 7. Team, I was expecting a win this week from them. Pretty disappointed in the Raviolis. This game isn't over though. Aaron Judge could hit a bomb at any point and flip the script here, but you're going up against Mookie Betts in this one. If the Raviolis get this done tonight, there may be a late scratch in the rankings because the Raviolis, they're 4-6, but they're hot. And the Mud Biscuits losing again would be very interesting for the league. Ultimately, though, the Raviolis are losing at the time that I am filming this. Judge with another huge week. Profar, huge week. If he could have just got some damn production out of the bottom of this lineup, he would have taken down the Mud Biscuits. The bottom of this lineup was awful. Awful, awful, awful. The Raviolis need to start feeding these boys raviolis. He should have been baking them on Friday night. Get this team hot going into the weekend, and they just fell short. Unfortunate for Trav. I was really hoping. I was team Ravioli. I even ate raviolis this week for Trav, and they fell down short. I might just have to make some again tonight to hopefully get a late rally from Aaron Judge. I don't think it's going to happen, but would love to see it. Would absolutely love to see it. But right now, the Raviolis are going to come in at 7 for me. Number 6, this team hurting me week after week because I don't know what to do with them. I think this team is very capable of being, a top 5 team. It's sad that we're halfway through the year on this team, and I don't know what this team is made of. The jury's still out. The taxpayers are coming in this week at 6, and they have just stayed between that 6 and 8 spot the whole season. I think there's weeks I think this team is really good. There are weeks I think this team is awful. There's weeks I can't even tell you what I think of this team. They're going to pick up a win more than likely this week unless something crazy happens with Teoscar Hernandez, like a homer or a triple could change this. I don't think that'll happen. But the taxpayers, I'm going to put them at 6 this week. They're staying in the hunt. They are staying in the hunt. I think that this is a big matchup for both of these teams. Talked a little bit about it at the end of last week's show, that I think this is a big week for one of these teams because I think that they're ultimately one's dead here, whichever team loses, and has to flip the script going forward. And I think the taxpayers could probably withstand that better than Cole. But I think that the taxpayers are probably going to pull this one out. So taxpayers sitting at 4-6 is a lot better spot to be in than the Balls. So with two players playing. So Freeman had a nice week. Simeon had a nice week. Ultimately, this team, didn't have a stellar week, but enough to get it done. And we'll see how it shakes out the rest of the night. Coming in at number 5, his first time falling out of the top 4. Yeah, this team was at 1 just a couple weeks ago. Gonna fall to 6-3 and 1. The Hormones with Clubs. Tough spot for the Clubs to drop one, especially after they got knocked down pretty heavy last week. Ohtani didn't really show out for him this week. Jose Ramirez had an okay week for Jose Ramirez. He's playing at an MVP level. Didn't necessarily have an MVP week. And I believe you lost Manny Machado midweek. It probably wouldn't have mattered the way Ryan's team performed this week. Ryan, this was a big put up or shut up week. I feel like this was his opportunity to potentially crack that top 5 or top 4. And he absolutely put up. The Clubs, I think that this is a solid team. I wouldn't knock them out of the upper echelon. I think these top 5 teams are the top 5 teams for sure in the league. There's no question in my mind. The Clubs, though, really could use a bounce back. They've kind of been on an up and down little stretch here. I still think that this is a good team and a very deep team. I think that they are going to this will probably be their only week that they're at 5. I mean, if we're being completely honest, I think that this is probably the only week that really Caleb has to worry about being at 5. So still a very solid team. I hate demoting them to 5, but Ryan this week proved it. So with that being said, we're staying right here on this page, and Ryan jumps into the top 4 for the first time. Ryan started the year out at 10, has fluctuated between like 7 to 5, stayed at 5 for quite a while, just continued to eat away. I think I got to give this team some credit. They have put together a really solid squad. The Jake Westberg ad was huge. And the rest of this team's just kind of showing out. He has been very active on the waiver wire, been very active, switching his lineup, playing matchups, and it's paying off for Ryan. He's really kept this kind of top 3 the majority of the year, and then he's kind of played with his matchups every single week. Ryan, though, is hang on one second. Okay, sorry. Ryan, though, is he's going to keep continuing to try and knock off these upper echelon teams. And I think he's very capable of doing that. His top 4 is really solid. I mean, his top 3 is really solid, and he's been a very good manager. Halfway through the season, definitely would get my vote as manager of the year. So congrats, Ryan, finally cracking that top 4. Murph says here, Ryan is a top 4 team. Heart. Absolutely. So with that being said, we're moving to 3. And this team is up from one spot. That is the Mud Biscuits. The Mud Biscuits came in last week at 4. But they are likely picking up a win this week. I think that this team is still kind of fraudulent. No, really. I mean, Vladdy did have his best week of the year for the Mud Biscuits. Ozuna has still been solid. Betts, I don't know. I don't know what to think about this team. I think that they're good. I'm considering maybe at some point putting in another tier, because I think that this team might be the first team out of the upper echelon. I don't know. They're gonna. Jury's out. We're just gonna say that right now. Jury is out on this team. We'll see where they come in these next coming weeks. But they finished the first half of the season, 6-3-1. That is a very respectable record. And I think that this team, I don't know. We're not going to talk too much about them because I really don't know what to think of them. I don't know what to think of them at all. Coming in at 2, dropping from 1. The Rally Birds. Rally Birds had a tough week this week. We talked a little bit about it whenever I gave Murph Manager of the Week. Losing Soto early in the week hurt, but ultimately Murph lost Tucker literally in the second at bat of the week. And I also, for some reason, I will say this, I tried to put Stephen Kwan in this week, and the app would not let me. I tried it 3 different times, and it would not let me take him off my IL. Don't know. Yahoo is complete dog shit. I'm to the point where I'm off Yahoo. But it's the only way we can do this format. So I had to play Jake Burger. Didn't have a best week for me. I don't think it would have mattered either way. But yeah, big week from Alvarez. Michael Harris has been pretty bad. Might need to consider making a change here with Michael Harris. Marte did have an injury this week, but still gave me 12. Ryan Mountcastle was really solid. And then Jake Burger had an average week. Mainly just hit a bomb today. Otherwise, he was pretty bad. Hopefully, Soto is back in the lineup soon. That is a big piece. I believe he's the second highest scoring fantasy player in the league. So losing him would definitely hurt. But really, the combo here of Soto, Alvarez, and Marte has been very solid for me all year. And they didn't, besides Soto getting hurt, they really didn't let me down this week. Marte and Alvarez, Ryan Mountcastle has been a nice pickup for me. But I think I got to make some changes with Michael Harris. He's just been struggling too much to be in my lineup. I've kind of escaped a couple weeks when he's had bad weeks, but I needed a good week out of him this week, and I did not get it. So the Rally Birds are coming in at 2. Coming in at 1, their first appearance at number 1. This team has been in the upper echelon every week. They have not dropped below 4th, but they have finally hit the mountaintop halfway through the season, and that is the Mississippi Ninja Chickens. This team, top to bottom, has been really solid. And like I said, this team is deep. They are scary. When Devers gets going, when Tucker gets going. I mean, he dropped 75 points on me this week with Kyle Tucker going down after 1 at bat. Rutschman had a huge week. Tovar had a 4-for-4 game against the Cardinals yesterday. Just nuts. That kind of sealed it, honestly. Whenever Murph texted me, not even sure what time it was, but it was just like Tovar 4 for 4. I absolutely knew I didn't even look at the app. I knew I was probably screwed because it was pretty tight up until that point. But when a guy goes 4 for 4 with a homer, he might have even had 2 homers in that game. You just can't really compete with that. Cronenworth has been better than advertised, I would say, and along with Duran. I mean, I was not expecting a big year out of Duran. Has definitely proved me wrong. He's kind of rode these Red Sox a little bit this year. And, the Ninja Chickens deserve it. They have been a very solid team pretty much the whole year. And really, as the season's progressed, they have gotten even better. So that is big for the Ninja Chickens, and I think that we will see them in this top 2 or 3 pretty much the remainder of the year unless something major happens. This team has proven itself, and they go into the break, or not the break, but the halfway point of the season as the number 1 ranked team. Ryan also would like to say that Murph is a bottom 3 team. I think he is smoking dick. And then Murph says, the Ninja Chickens have hatched. Indeed, they have. Like I said, this team has – I was pretty high on this team to begin with, but they have just performed. I mean, ultimately, they have performed. I really do think that the Rally Birds and the Ninja Chickens are the top 2 teams in this league. Kind of the way I didn't necessarily think that to begin the year with the Ninja Chickens, but definitely this past 3 or 4 weeks, I think that he's kind of proven it to me that the Ninja Chickens are definitely legit. So that being said, let's look at next week here. As we kind of get over the hump of the year, we have a huge matchup to start it off. The Rally Birds and the Hormones with Clubs. This would be a big bounce back week for the Clubs if they can get it done. And same with the Rally Birds. I mean, this is a big spot for them to potentially, stay in that top 2. And the Club's looking for a little revenge. I haven't been necessarily the kindest to them in the rankings, even though I do think that this still is a very good team. The Raviolis get the bum shoulders coming off a week or a winning week. This would be a big one for Trav to start the second half out on the right foot. I'm Team Ravioli all the way. I think this team is good enough to be a playoff contender, and they need to put their foot on the gas going into the second half. Randy's Balls gets Ryan's rallying raw. This is my hot take. I'm taking the Balls in this one. I'm taking the Balls. Huge week for Ryan. I think he has a little bit of a sleep, or he might come into this matchup a little bit asleep against the Balls. This is to the point where the Balls have to win. I think their back's against the wall, and I think they're going to perform against Ryan. That is my hot take. It might end up being a 30-point blowout, though. So we have then the Hittas versus the Ninja Chickens. The Hittas aren't afraid of the top of the league. We have learned that. They're not afraid of the top of the league. But ultimately, I think that the Ninja Chickens get this done. I would love, though, to see Kyle Tucker come back, but I don't think it's happening. So Murph's going to go down. He's probably not going to be projected as much as the Hittas this week, but I still think that team is too deep not to put them take them in this matchup. The Mud Biscuits get the Broken Bat Bombers. Mud Biscuits needing a win, to kind of just stay in that top 3. I don't know how to take that team. The Broken Bat Bombers have knocked off some teams this year that I don't think that they should have, but ultimately I probably will take the Mud Biscuits in this matchup as well. And then the team, this is probably my matchup of the week: Sluggers and the Taxpayers. Taxpayers really got to figure something out, and the Sluggers are just gonna, I guess, keep 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 their foot on the pedal. I don't know. I don't know what to really say about him. He needs to make some roster moves, but ultimately, I think that this is going to be a good matchup. I'm not sure if Sam hasn't said anything in the Discord for a couple weeks, so I don't know if he's even really checked his lineup. He probably should, because I think he has another guy that's day to day. So yeah, I don't think that this is as good of matchups this upcoming week. Besides, I mean, I think that the Sluggers and the Taxpayers and the Rally Birds and the Clubs are great matchups, and there could be a couple that are tight going into the week, but this isn't really a knockdown, drag out week that we're going to see next week. So I will try and have the memes out tomorrow morning at some point. I may work on them a little bit tonight. Just depends. So that being said, I appreciate you guys that have been in here. And Murph and the Ned Chickens are ready for a cockfight next week. Interesting. All right. I will see you all next week. Appreciate everybody that was in here. We'll see you next week. Peace.